أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآله. Assalamu alaikum jameen wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for joining us for the second session and also on time. So inshallah we can also complete on time. Yesterday I didn't realize it was a little longer. Inshallah, today we'll try to finish within 15 minutes. If there are any questions, we'll take inshallah thereafter. I can see that now Sayyid Mehdi is here, so inshallah, perhaps from tomorrow we'll try to also relay this live on YouTube automatically. But just now, we may not want to spend time on that. Okay, so we started yesterday with this book, and we said that this book has 8 chapters, and we try to cover 2 chapters, one chapter for 2 sessions. But the first session is quite important, so we'll continue discussing today, and perhaps we'll see also tomorrow. But as yesterday, very quickly, that these are the verses of Quran regarding the benefits of reminder. وَذَكِّرْ فَإِنَّ الذِّكْرَ تَنْفَعُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And remind or admonish, for admonition indeed benefits the faithful. All of us need a reminder. Not only you, but even we, even the speakers, scholars also need all the time reminder. And that is why we try to go and even sit in the majalis or listen to the lectures of people who can bring about changes. This is very important. Human being needs that reminder. Nobody should have complacency to think that, no, I don't need that. It's the second day of the Ramadan, so let us recite the dua taught by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa Muhammad. Allahumma qarribni fihi ila mardatik. Allah, bring me on this day closer to your good pleasure. And that's exactly what we are trying. We are struggling to get near to Allah's pleasure. وَجَنِّبْنِي فِي مِنْ سَخَطِكَ وَنِقْمَتِكَ. Not only that, Allah keep me away from your displeasure, but even vengeance. You can see that there are certain things, if we do, Allah is going to punish us. And we are trying to pray, Allah, keep me away from your displeasure, also vengeance. This is important, that every time you see, even in the khutbah of welcoming the month of Ramadan, Rasulullah said that may Allah give us tawfiq to fast, but also recite Quran. He also says, it's a discussion on its own, but it seems that when it comes to reciting Quran, doing tilawah, there are challenges people face. And that is why the Prophet is teaching us to pray to Allah to give us tawfiq, that special grace and what success from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we do qiraat of this book. Birahmatik ya Rahman, with your mercy, O the most merciful. Coming to the book, we said yesterday that inshallah we will share with you the praise for the author. This was the author of this book, Kitab al-Mumin. He used to live during the time of 8th Imam, 9th Imam, and 10th Imam, right? And that is why you can see even our people, our scholars who have written about Rijal. Rijal are the books whereby they write people who report hadith. People report hadith about their life, about their trustworthiness, about their reliability, about their good memory. There are special books written on that. That known as Kitab Rijal. So, for example, we got Sheikh Tusi, who has 2 books to Rijal. One is Rijal and one is Fahrist. So Rijal actually means men who reported hadith. And also Allah Hindi in his Khulasa described him as saying very trustworthy, illustrious. That means this person who, Hussein bin Sayyid al-Kufi al-Ahwazi, right? And then Ibn Nadim, he also has Faris. He says Al-Hassan al-Ahwazi and Hussein, they were brothers, no? The 2 sons of Sayyid are from the people of Kufa, most well-versed in the era and the knowledge of jurisprudence, traditions, virtues, and other subjects from sciences of Shia, subhanAllah. As you can see, they were known to be masters in different sciences. Al-Majlisi says, mentioned in one of his books with the words, a principle amongst the main supports of such tradition is trustworthy Sheikh Hussein bin Sayyid al-Ahwaz. He's also the author of book of Al-Kisab al-Zuhad and Kitab al-Mumin. So in fact, you can see Al-Majlisi mentions 2 of his books. Kitab al-Mumin, which we are discussing, And there is also Kitab al-Zuhud. Alhamdulillah also has been translated recently from Qum, and I have in my library. So inshallah, if Allah gives us a long life, maybe next year we can look at Kitab al-Zuhud, inshallah. Let's continue. So coming to the hadith, the first chapter is severity of believers' afflictions. Believers, you will find that they face a lot of afflictions. People sometimes, because of these difficulties, they give up hope. No, they feel that Allah is angry with us. That's not the case. Subhanallah. On the contrary, Allah is testing us. As I said yesterday, and I'll say this number of times, when any kind of difficulties come, look at yourself. Are you responsible for it? If you are, okay, then no, try not to do those things again. I give the example that no, if I go to a mechanic and he warned me that no, the brakes on my car is only 10%, for example, live. Even then, I'm careless, right? And then I drive this car, one fine day I get an accident. Then I'm responsible. Or for example, another example I give that I go to work after a lot of search, I finally get to work, and then I report late, and then I'm fired. So again, the family is suffering because I don't have work, so I have to start taking loan or tighten myself, right? So those are the things a person is responsible. Or sometimes a person is responsible because of sins he does, right? But if those things are not there, then there's imtihan. And Allah takes imtihan, of course, He knows that you have the ability. So believers should know about these things. Sometimes, we get depressed, that we say, oh, we are facing difficulties after difficulties. That's not the case. So here is, for example, Al-Fudayl bin Yasar. He says, Samit about Allah, alayhi salam. 61 says, Yakulu inna shayateen aksarun al-mu'min min al-zanabir al-laham. Subhanallah, he says, if you find a piece of meat lying somewhere, right, you'll find so many flies, right? That is why here we do a lot of precautions to make sure that flies are not there. We cover it, right? It's cold, everything. But you'll see in some of the places, for example, if they're not careful and the meat are there, you find so many flies. So Imam says, in the shayateen, the devils, there are more devils on a believer trying to misguide him than the flies on a piece of meat. This hadith alone gives, really, it talks volumes. So keep in mind, and Imam used the word shayateen. Shayateen is the plural of shaitan. And shaitan is known as shaitan because he misleads, right? His name was Iblis, but he misleads, now shayateen. So if you, for example, see the meaning, root word of everything, see the one who misleads. So in the shayateen aksaru al mu'min, especially a believer, minas zanabir al lahab, subhanallah. Compare the flies on a piece of meat. So mu'minin, keep in mind, it does not mean, of course, that we should not. The fact that we should be careful, we should not make judgment. If you find somebody in difficulty, never make a judgment that this person is being punished by Allah, subhanAllah. Never know, he may be a close servant of Allah, subhanAllah. Human being, because we are in a good position with all the comfort, then when we look at others who are, for example, less fortunate or less, for example, poor, we immediately make about judgment. We should be careful, right? Then ahaduma. When ahaduma, that means either the fifth imam or the sixth imam. It says, ما من عبد مسلم ابتلاء الله جل جلاله بمكروه وصبر إلا كتب الله له أجر ألف شهيد. Here, in fact, subhanallah, Imam is used the word Muslim, not only a believer. So what our brothers are facing just now in Gaza can be included, right? He says, Ma min abdin Muslim. There is not a single Muslim servant, or no, servant of Allah, of course. Muslim servant doesn't mean the person who is an employee or one who is a worker, no. Abdin Muslim, that means a servant of Allah. Keep in mind, a Muslim servant of Allah, ibtalah Allah makruhin wa sabrin. When Allah was tried Allah, with misfortune and of bearing patience. When Allah tries him, ibtalah jalla jalalu bimakruhin wa sabrin. Illa katab Allah lahu ajra alfi shaheed. Subhanallah. Allah writes for him the patience of 1,000 shaheed, martyrs. So, mu'mineen, yes, whenever we face difficulties, nobody likes that. So we can pray that may Allah. But my personal experience, I'll tell you one thing. Alhamdulillah, having lived all these years and facing different kind of challenges in life, whenever there is difficulty, let's say, for example, that a person is sick, right? You have certain kind of sickness happens, simple thing. Let's say there's a headache. It's such a headache that it's quite severe. So I'm sure that you will take medicine. You will pray that you should be saved from these things, right? But immediately, what you person should do as believers, Ya Allah, I'm facing this difficulty, right? There may be others who may be even worse than myself. Yes, Allah relieve them of difficulty, give them cure, give them shifa, right? Then pray for yourself. That should always be the case, especially if you know somebody by name. Then you take the person's name, even that person has not asked you that you pray for him. He has not. You just realize that this person is suffering. For example, we know some of the sisters who are married for a number of years, they don't have children, right? We know about the community, right? And they don't say this thing because people, this is a taboo in our community. I don't know, for some reason people don't talk about it. So, but if you realize it, it's good to pray by taking the name. It's so and so, Ya Allah has been married. They are trying to have children. They don't have, make it easier. So it is important we do this thing. Let me look if there's a question here. Yeah, inshallah, I will share with you about Iblis because it comes from Ablasa. No, so we will come to it, inshallah. No, I'll bring sorry, I'll bring the meaning of both Iblis and Shaitan and share it, Ablasa. Okay. Then we come to another hadith. We have about 3 minutes, so we'll get into the next hadith. Subhan. See what and Abi Ja'far. قال الله تبارك وتعالى اليوم العزة. No, he says, قال عزتي. He says, لا أخرج لي أبدا من الدنيا أريد رحمة إلا استوفيت كل سيئة هي له إما بالضيق في رزقي أو بلاء في جسدي أو أما خوف أدخل عليه فإن بكي عليه شيء شددت عليه بالموت. Subhanallah, you can see that clearly here it is saying, Abu Ja'far, the fifth Imam, says, by my honor. Allah says, by my honor, right? He says, وَإِزَّتِ. Here in the Arabic is ta'ala wa izzati. This not ta'ala, there should be a space here. No? So in the type, there is a type for it. Wa izzati, by honor. I do not take a servant of mine from the world if I intend mercy for him until all his sins are removed. So keep in mind that we are not masoom, right? So we have certain kind of sins. And Allah wants to remove us from this world purified. So when we go in the hereafter, we are in a position to benefit from all those things. So he says, until that time that I intend to mercy for him, until all these things are removed. Either by a straining in his livelihood, so Allah uses how, for example, how does Allah clean our sins? One is straining the livelihood. Suddenly, for example, you had a very good job, you lose it. You're making good money in your business, suddenly something happens, right? So Allah strengthens the livelihood. Or by affliction his body. Or, for example, there are problems in the body itself. It can be, for example, person remains sick, right? Okay. Or fear that cause him to experience. Or sometimes people have some kind of distress and fear all the time, right? And if anything remains on him after, subhanAllah, you can see, I make his dying difficult. So do you see this thing that it is quite interesting that we have been clearly given guidance that these are the challenges which we face in our life, and we should not give up, especially our faith should not be shaken. That is most important. Our faith, our iman should always be strong. That, Ya Allah, I know that I'm facing this thing. First of all, I pray for others who are in a worse position. But then, Ya Allah, give me the strength that I face this thing with faith. And if I am responsible for it, let me just try to make a point that I won't repeat that thing. As you can see, that it is the sins sometimes which bring about this kind of situation. So this human beings will always there. In fact, there are number of stories in the same book. Let me end with, I know it's time, but let me just end with you with one story which is there in this book. It's quite interesting. This is again from the fifth Imam, right? And this hadith, although it is found in this book, Kitab al-Mumin, but is also found in Al-Kafi, Al-Kafi volume 2, we find that Abu Ja'far, the fifth Imam, says that the Prophet from the children of Israel once passed by a dead person. One of Israel, one of the Prophet passed by somebody, a man who was half of his body was buried under the wall, and the other half was eaten by birds and wild dogs. You can see a person died, maybe a wall fell him, so half of the body was under the wall and half of the body was outside, being just consumed by what birds and dogs. Then he came to a city where one of its notables had died and had been placed on a bed adorned with velvet and surrounded by groups of people. On the other hand, he passed by another city, for example, a person who was, suddenly you can see that the city of his, he was a notable of the city, and died, and people had placed his on a bed adorned with velvet and surrounded by him. So he called Allah. The Prophet said to Allah, Ya Rabbi, you are most surely just judge, and you're not doing justice. I have no doubt that this is the case. The servant had never assessed a partner, even for a woman. The first person who died this way, had never done shirk, he says, right? Yet you cause him to die in such a despicable way, disgraceful, right? And this servant of yours had never believed in you, the second one, right? In you for even a moment. Yet you have given him such an honorable death. You can see there are two deaths. One is of a believer, one is of a mushrik, right? So Allah replied, my servant, I am indeed, as you have said, that I am just judge who does not do injustice. The believing servant had a sin left with me, right? So I caused him to die such a death that he may meet me with nothing left on him punishment. Do you see this thing? Subhanallah. So he comes as a pure, right? And this disbelieving servant of mine had a good deed left over with me. So I caused him to die thus that he may meet me with nothing left for him. So of course his reward is given in this world. On the other hand, our real reward is in the hereafter. So meaning as we are in the month of Ramadan, it is a special month whereby we try to do good deeds, do istighfar, pray, fast, right? But make sure that our faith should increase. Let not the events in the world or sometimes the wrong company of people or for example, wrong influence should not at all shake us. We believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who loves us, as the hadith says that Allah loves his believer more than a mother who is the most merciful. Right? If you find a mother who's very, very kind to her children, Allah loves 70 times more than that. So let us have faith and thank Allah for this wonderful opportunity to worship Him in different ways through fasting. It means it's a long way, right? Fasting is a long duration of ibadat. So we are given that kind of opportunity. Thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that opportunity. Any questions, any clarifications? Inshallah, tomorrow if I get chance, I'll try to share with you the meaning of both shaitan and iblis, iblis. Okay, so inshallah, thank you again for joining us. Please do talk to the family members and others to join. These are being recorded and also being posted on the website. So yesterday's session has been already posted there. We'll continue doing this, inshallah. We'll also try to have volunteers who will at the same time relay on the YouTube. So the seniors can just sit in front of their televisions and also benefit this. Please keep us in your dua, inshallah.